Good evening and welcome to our first program in the series, We Remember Them, here on CityWest Community Television. My name is Charlie Week and I'm honoured to be in the home of my good friend, Mr. and Mrs. Bill Mcrae, here in Terrace. The nature of our program is to pay tribute and honour our veterans of yesteryear and of today. Bill Mcrae is a veteran of World War II, a freeman of the city of Terrace, and a personal good friend as well. I enjoy writing poetry, and I'm happy to say I have two books entitled Remembrance and Gratitude, which I pay tribute to a lot of different people and also to our veterans. And I wrote this poem dedicated to Mr. Mcrae in 2014, and the poem is entitled, I Know Him Well. And the poem reads, There is a man in my hometown that I do know well. He is well respected, of this you can tell. He is a freeman of our city, Bill Mcrae is his name. His kindness and personality is his fame. He is a veteran of war many, many years ago, and although in his twilight years, he's always on the go. You see, Bill is a kind man and helpful in every way. A proud legionnaire, this I proudly say. When you see him, feel free to shake his hand. Bill Mcrae is a very, very special kind of man. Together, we work for the vets of our town, created memorials that will always be there and never come down. Thank you, Bill, for who you are. Bill Mcrae, a very special gentlemen. The nature of our program is to pay tribute to our veterans of yesteryear and of today. Now I'm very proud and very honoured to be able to interview my good friend Bill Mcrae here, who is a veteran of the Second World War. Bill, what age were you when you joined the military?
Well, I went to join up. I had been working with a drilling company and they sent me to a school down there, and I thought, well, I'm going to join up. But I was only 18 and they were only accepting 19s. And the guy told me, you better go home and grow up a little bit, you're not old enough. So I went back a year later when I was 19. But even by then, they had lowered the age limit to 18. And I was born in 1924. Yeah.
What regiment?
Royal Canadian Scottish.
Royal Canadian Scottish.
Yeah.
And where were you stationed in Canada?
In Canada, I was at Camrose at basic training, and Wetaskiwin for a time, and Calgary at Sarcee, and down to Suffield, Alberta, where they have the gas training business, so people understood what gassing was all about.
What year was this?
Well, I was let's see, I was 18 years old, and that would have been
19. When were you born?
1924.
24, so it would be 34, 42. 1942.
Yeah.
1942, you were doing your training.
Yeah.
And after you did your training, war was pretty...
Shipped overseas.
Where did you go to?
We went to Burt, Nova Scotia, and we were there for a time until they put several thousand guys on the ship, and the ship was called the Louis Pasteur. And we were 5 or 6 days getting to Liverpool in England, and So I was in England for a time, and then D-Day came along, and we hit the beach, the Juno Beach, on the 6th of June, 1944.
And you were actually on Juno Beach?
Yeah.
Yourself with your comrades?
That's about it.
That's the medal there.
Yeah.
You've got a beautiful bunch of medals there, well earned and well deserved, for sure. Now, you and I were talking a few days ago, because I come here often and I visit Bill, and we talk and we reminisce, and I listen to Bill's stories of his past, and which is very, very intriguing, I can assure you. You told me the other day that when you were in Holland, the people of Holland came out. You tell the story.
Well, do you want to go back to Juno Beach?
Go back to Juno Beach, of course.
Well, we had a lot of casualties the first day, and there was a place they called Falaise, and there was a Falaise pocket there, and we managed to take a lot of prisoners. And from there we went to Nijmegen, up through the countryside, Belgium, Holland, and we stayed at Nijmegen for the winter, and it was cold and raw, and the barracks weren't very good, and I remember everybody having dysentery. That's a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
And well, there is some things you can take. If you get essence of strawberries, it'll fix you, but otherwise, you're living in the outhouse. And then we went on up into Germany to Oldenburg. It was a big airport. Went through the Maginot Line, crossed the Rhine and Maginot Line, and we got to Oldenburg. Well, my friend and I, Earl Bowling, we were runners in headquarters company, and they promoted us, and that's what we were doing. Well, when we got to Oldenburg, there was a holdout in Groningen in Holland, where they hadn't capitulated to put down their arms. So the whole battalion moved down there to finish it off. In the meantime, while we were en route, saner heads prevailed, and they put down their arms, and we went and took them over. And from there we went into Amsterdam, or to Utrecht. And the people in Holland were starving to death. And we were stationed in a place called the Van Nijenrode Kasteel, the Casteels in Holland. It was a huge grounds, a self-sustaining thing in a big castle. And that's where we were disarming the Germans, and they had delousing stations and laundries and all this stuff, and shoemakers to make sure their boots were in good shape. And then they made them march back to Germany. And that was quite an experience there.
Very much so. Now, there's not very many fond memories of wartime, of course not, because of all the tragedy and everything that was going on. Can you recall, maybe with a friend, one of your fondest memories of, in your memory, what you keep from during the war?
Well, when we were at the station, that big castle, the Dutch people were starving. They'd stripped all the food away. And so the Americans and the British Air Forces came and they had parachute drops of food. And I guess my fondest memory was one of the chores my friend Earl Bowling and I had was the 60 hundredweight truck and a map, and we distributed food packages to the starving population in Holland. And consequently, we got around Holland a lot more than most people. And Amsterdam, Rotterdam was a really terrible place. They were just absolutely starved. Yeah, so this went on for quite a time. And we were both in headquarters company, had access to vehicles and do our job. Well, some of the younger officers were signing up to go to Japan. So he and I decided we'd do that too.
So you went to Japan?
No, they shipped us to Ostend and then to England, and we were there for a time, and we came home on the New Amsterdam, a ship to Halifax.
What year was that, Bill? Can you recall?
In 45.
45.
Yeah. And then came across Canada, came home and gave us a leave. And then we were to report to Nanaimo. And they were going to ship us south somewhere for jungle training or something. But in the meantime, when I was on the train going back to Nanaimo after that leave, the Japanese had capitulated, they had dropped the atomic bombs. So there we were in Nanaimo, it was chaos. All kinds of soldiers, and they'd give you leave, you go to Vancouver for a week and come back again and so on. Couldn't do anything, you couldn't go home, it was too far away. Anyway, there was I had been a diamond driller in civilian life, a young fellow. I was a fully qualified diamond driller. And they were doing a diamond drilling job at Campbell River. So I got a special leave and went up there and done the drilling job for that dam at Campbell River. And I got a 6 months leave. And during that time, they sent me to Kimberley and did another job up in the Kootenai River for a dam. And then they sent me to northern Saskatchewan. And they were just happy that a guy was out working because jobs were very scarce.
I'll bet you they were, yeah.
And so I did some drilling in northern Saskatchewan. And that thing up there resulted in 3 gold mines. It was a great country. And then I finally got out to Regina and got my discharge. And they had a whole bunch of fellows there sitting behind desks and questioning you and what you would be best suited to do and what you could get training for some of this and something like that. And I got a little choked. I guess I had a chip on my shoulder, and I finally said to the captain, well, I don't know what you're trying to do to me, but I've got a good job, and I don't need you fellows at all. Thank you very much.
That impressed him.
Yeah.
What year were you demobbed from the military?
Let's see, 46, I guess.
46, and where were you demobbed?
In Regina.
In Regina. And after you were demobbed in Regina, when did you actually come to Terrace?
Well, I worked for that diamond drilling company for 12 years, and I got to be a supervisor. I went to lots of places. And my dad wanted me to come back to this country because I was born in Smithers, went to school in Hazleton, and he said there's a store for sale at a place called Usk. Well, he said, I think you should buy that, because he was my banker when I got some money to send home. Well, I said, I got to stay and finish the thing I'm doing. I was diamond drilling superintendent at Whitehorse, copper, because I won't be finished this job until Christmas time. And so I came on the train. But he bought that store, I think it was in April. And he and his old partner went and ran it for a time till I would get home. Anyway, in May, the river flooded, and the water was up the ceiling in the store. But they moved upstairs to the big old building, and they moved all up in the dance hall, and it was a tremendous flood. I think the railway was out here for about 4 months. Tremendous flood. And so I eventually got down to Prince Rupert and came up on the train, and he met me at the station. The old store was just across from the railway station. Come with a lantern, and the snow was about 5 feet deep. And I got up in the morning, looked around, and I thought, what in the heck am I doing here? Well, I guess I can tough it out for a while. I can always sell it or something. But then there was a girl who used to come to the store and use the telephone. It was the only telephone. They had a telephone, post office, and so on, a country store. Anyway, that kind of changed my direction. I did go out and work for a drilling company on times, but and that's where I met my wife.
And that young girl that came to the store to use the telephone,
yeah,
turned out to be Mrs. Mcrae.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, I remember. Bill and I, over this past while, we've shared many, many stories when I come up here and visit Mr. and Mrs. Mcrae. And he told me of his journeys through Smithers, Hazleton, Sealy Lake.
Yeah.
And Bill has a lot of stuff that he's written over the years for keepsakes. And not too long ago, Bill and I were sitting talking, and his eyesight is not as good as what it used to be, and he asked me if I would transfer his writings onto CD format, which I did do, so Bill could just put them in and listen to it. And I read those stories, and I was absolutely impressed. Now, before we come to the end of our program here, Bill, while in here in Terrace, you and Mrs. Mcrae both are involved, even in your latter years, with the Dr. R.E.M. Lee Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And also you're very instrumental in this day in trying to obtain or help to get a new hospital for the Mills Memorial Hospital here in Terrace. But I know years ago in our time with the Royal Canadian Legion, you and I, and through you, I was able to attain the Veterans Cemetery, at the old and the new cemetery,
yeah,
where we have memorial markers in both cemeteries and flagpoles,
yeah,
dedicated,
yeah,
to the veterans,
yeah,
who are laid to rest.
That's right.
In those cemeteries. And you were very, very instrumental in kicking me in the butt and getting it done, and which we did do. And I didn't do it on my own. I got a lot of help from members of the branch. Bill, you're still heavily involved within the community, even in your latter years, as I said. I won't tell our listeners how old you are. You can do that if you want to. But I know we're working on your 93rd year. And it's a pleasure in coming here today and you and Mrs. Mcrae making available your home for us, sharing your memories of your wartime. Sadly, there is very few of our veterans from the World War II era. We do have a few names that we'll be contacting thanks to you and Mrs. Mcrae. And I want to thank you very profusely, and I'm honoured and privileged that you're our first guest here on We Remember Them. And I look forward to, in the coming days and years, that you and I can still continue that long-time friendship that we both share. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Mcrae, Second World War veteran residing here in Terrace, and yes, even at the grand age of 93, he is still heavily involved in our community, as I said, with the Dr. R.E.M. Lee Foundation, the Veteran Cemetery, and trying to obtain stuff here in the new hospital. We've only gone through a very minute part of Bill's life history. He's quite a man, I can assure you. What I'd like to say is I'd like to thank you for being part of us and being with us this evening in this program, We Remember Them. And if you know of a veteran who would like to be part of our program, We Remember Them, please contact us at the email address that you'll see on the screen at the end of the show. Again, thank you very much indeed, Mr. Mcrae.
Charlie.
Yes, sir.
When I was Lusk, Helene's dad had a little sawmill, and I eventually joined him, and we run out of the lumber company for 10 years. And in 1960, I built the big mill that still exists here, and some thought I was crazy. And I'm so happy to go up on the hill there and hear the noise of that old mill running.
As I said, we've only touched a small minute of your life, and I know about the mill and how much involved you were, and you were instrumental in having it built. And the people of Terrace who work there, and the people of Terrace who benefit from it.
I cut all those beautiful beams in this house.
For the house from the mill. I think we will come back and we will talk to you again on the latter part of your life, if you don't mind. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this evening. And as I said earlier, if you know of a veteran, a grandfather who might be involved with the war, or even a young veteran of today, we would like to pay tribute to them on our program, We Remember Them. This is your host, Charlie Meek, saying thank you, and please be safe.